morning everyone. Today we'll be solving BHSEC 2024 mathematics paper and we'll be starting with the MCQ section. So for question A, we have for every matrix A, there always exists a matrix B where if you add matrix A with B, you get 0. So what is this matrix B? Let's see what's given to us in this question. So given here is that matrix A plus matrix B gives us 0. In this case, we'll use the most basic algebra to firstly figure out what is matrix B, because we have to find what matrix B is. So here, if we take A to the left or right hand side, we get matrix B equals to the negative of matrix A. So let's illustrate this question. Let's say that matrix A is a 1 by 2 matrix where we have 1 and 1 here. So it's a 1 by 2 matrix. Henceforth, by using this, we get that matrix B is equal to the negative of matrix A. Henceforth, it will be each of the elements in matrix A will acquire a negative sign. When we add these two matrices, we have matrix A plus the matrix B, we get a 0 matrix, which also equates to saying that matrix A plus matrix B equals to 0. Henceforth, our option is option D, stating it's negative of matrix A. Question 2 here tells us that what is dy by dx if x is equal to cos t and y is equal to e raised to the log e of sine t. So in question 2, what is given to us is x is equal to cos t and y is equal to e raised to the log base e of sine t. This here is a parametric differentiation question, and there is also a logarithmic concept with this question. So if we explain the logarithmic concept in this question, we have let e raised to y equal to sine t as given in the question. This is a very basic understanding of how we could get to the answer there. So here, if you put this in a logarithmic form, you have log base e of sine t equals to y. What does this tell us? It tells us that what should be the power that you raise e in order to get sine t. And when you put this function log e of sine t as a power of e itself, because this explains us what the power should be in order to get e, when you put this as a power of e itself, it's as though you're using this as a key and this as your lock. You simply get the function back, sine t. Because as you can see here, log e of sine t is y, right? Log e of sine t here is y. So e raised to y, as we bring it from here, is simply sine t. And therefore, we have our function y here is equal to sine t. Now, a simplified version of this y as sine t. Now, in the parametric function, we are supposed to find dy by dx. However, both x and y are functions of t. Therefore, we will now differentiate x and y with respect to t. Here, we'll now start with dx by dt. When you differentiate cos t, you will get the negative of sine t. And when you differentiate sine t, you will get cos t. In order to get dy by dx, we have dx by dt and dy by dt, which you would get if you do dy by dt multiplied by the reciprocal of dt by dx. Therefore, dt and dt will get cancelled out and you get dy by dx. So, we have dy by dt, which is cos t divided by, because now you have to take the reciprocal of negative sine t. which if you reciprocal this as dt by dx, you will get 1 divided by negative of sine t. So you have negative of sine t here, which if you remember from, we have if sine over cos equals to tan, then cos over sine equals to the opposite of tan, which is cotangent. So we have cot t, and we have this negative sign here, we'll put it back here. So our answer is the option C in the question.
So for question number 3 of the MCQ, we are asked to find the principal value of sine inverse cos 2 pi over 3 plus cos inverse sine 3 pi over 4. So to solve this question, what we can do to make our work easy is we can try to convert this cos into sine and this sine into cos, so that we can directly cancel sine inverse with sine and cos inverse with cos. So to do this, we have a formula. So you can remember this formula by looking at this graph. So we have 0 over here, 90 degree over here, and we have 180 degree over here and 270 degree over here. So we can look at this cos 2 pi over 3. Cos 2 pi over 3, if we convert this radians into degree, it will simply be 1 times 180 over pi. So pi will get cancelled, so it's 180 times 2 divided by 3, so we get 120, and 120 will be within this bound of 90 and 180. So what we can do is we can take this and this as the bound for this angle, and we can use either of this angle as a reference, and we can either add some angles or subtract some angles to represent this angle. So we have cos 120. So to represent cos 120, what we can do is we can write it as cos 180 minus 60 or cos 90 plus 30. But since in this case we are trying to change cos into sine, what we can do is we will take 90 as the angle of reference, because if we take 90 or 270 as the angle of reference, the cos will change into sine and sine will vice versa change into cos. But if we take 180 or we have 360 over here as the angle of reference, then cos will remain as it is and sine will remain as it is. So what we'll do over here, I will write it as sine inverse cos 90 plus 30 plus cos inverse. Here also, since this is 3 pi over 4, this is sine 135, and sine 135 will also lie in this region. So we will also take 90 as the angle of reference to change this sine into cos. So we have sine 90 plus 45. But there's one thing we need to remember while proceeding with this formula, is that we need to check the initial like plus or minus value of the cos and sine function we are changing. So to remember in which quadrant which function is positive or negative, we can just remember this. So we have something like an acronym, so we can write add sugar to coffee. So what this implies is that A means all, S means sine, T means tan, and C means cos. So in quadrant 1, all the like this trigonometric functions are positive. In quadrant 2, sine and its inverse, and in quadrant 3, tan and its inverse, and in quadrant 4, cos and its inverse are positive. And since this is cos and cos is negative in the first quadrant, we have to put a negative sign. So this will be sine inverse negative sine. This gets changed into sine because we have taking 90 as the angle of reference. So don't forget to put the bracket over here. So it's negative sine 30 plus cos inverse. Since sine is positive, we will have positive cos 45. So what we can do over here, we have a property of inverse function. So sine inverse negative x is equals to negative sine inverse x, and cos inverse negative x is equals to pi minus cos inverse x. So since we have sine over here, it is negative sine inverse sine 30 plus cos inverse cos 45. So this will give us negative 30 plus 45, which will give us 15 as the answer. But we don't have answer any options in terms of degrees. So what we'll do is we'll change this degrees into radians. To do that, what we can do is we can just multiply by pi over 180, and this will give us pi over 12 as the answer, and that is option C in your question. So for question 4 of the MCQ, we have a class of 36 students and it is to be divided equally among the teachers teaching English, Songkha, physics, chemistry, biology and mathematics. So we have 6 teachers, and what the question asks from us is that we have to calculate the number of ways in which these students can be distributed among the subject groups for them to attend remedial classes. So we need to divide these 36 students into 6 groups for the 6 classes. So we can write down what we are given with. So we can represent the number of students that we have to divide with n. So we have 36 students and we have to divide them into 6 total groups with, if we are dividing 36 students into 6 groups, so we'll have 6 members in each group. So we have a formula of calculating the number of ways in which we can divide n number of people into g number of groups with p number of members in each group. So that will be given by n factorial divided by g factorial times p factorial to the power of g. So in this case that will be 36 factorial divided by 6 factorial times 6 factorial to the power of 6. So with this formula we get the number of ways in which we can divide the 36 students into 6 groups with 6 members. But we also have to assign these 6 groups to the 6 different subjects as well. So that will be an additional 6 factorial ways. So we multiply the 6 factorial ways in which we can divide the 6 groups among the 6 teachers. So we just multiply the 6 factorial ways with the number of ways in which we can divide the 36 students. So that will be times 6 factorial. So these two 6 factorials get cancelled. So we are left with 36 factorial divided by 6 factorial to the power of 6. So this is the number of ways in which we can divide the 36 students among 6 groups for the 6 teachers to teach. So that will be your option B. So for question 5 of the MCQ, we are asked to evaluate the value of this interval. So what we can see over here is that this interval is in the form of negative a to a f of x dx. So as you can see over here, the upper limit and the lower limit are in the form of negative a to a. So in this kind of interval, what we can do is we can check whether the function f of x is even or odd, and then we can modify the integral depending on whether it is an even function or an odd function. For an even function, if the function f of x is an even function, then this interval will change into 2 times the upper limit and the lower limit will change to 0 to a f of x dx. And if the function is an odd function, then the value of this interval will be directly equals to 0. So let's check for this function over here. So in this case we have f of x is equals to log of 1 plus x divided by 1 minus x. So to check whether our function is an even function or an odd function, we check for f of negative x. If f of negative x is equals to f of x, then the function is an even function. And if f of negative x is equals to negative f of x, then that function is an odd function. So over here, if we put f of negative x, so all the x gets replaced with negative x. So we have log of 1 plus minus x, so it's negative x divided by 1 minus x, so 1 plus x. So what we can do over here is we can just reciprocal this 1 minus x divided by 1 plus x, so that will give us log of 1 plus x divided by 1 minus x. But since we reciprocaled this equation, we have negative 1 as the power, and from the property of log, we know that log of x raised to n is equals to n log x. So we can take this negative 1 to the front, log 1 plus x divided by 1 minus x. So over here, f of negative x is equals to negative f of x. So this function is an odd function. So the value of this integral will be directly equals to 0. So this integral will be equals to 0, and that will be option A in your question.
Now let's look at question number 6 of the Big C 2024 MCQ. Now this question asks us to find which of the following differential equation are linear. Now for a equation or differential equation to be linear, the equation must adhere to three conditions. Now, condition 1. Now, condition 1 is that the degree of the equation must be 1. Must be 1. Now, degree is basically the exponent of the highest order derivative in that equation. Now, the condition 2 is that the exponent of the dependent variable y or any dependent variable must be 1. And the third and final condition is that there must be no product between the differential coefficient and the dependent variable. No product or any function between dependent variable y and differential coefficient. Now, let's check each equation one by one. Now, for the first equation, the degree of this equation is 1, since the exponent of this derivative, the highest order derivative in this equation, is 1. And there is no product between the dependent variable y and the differential equation. So this equation is linear. Now, let's look at equation number 2. Similarly, the highest order derivative dy over dx exponent is 1. And there is again no product between the dependent variable y and the differential coefficient. So this equation is also linear. Now, for the third equation, there is a product, as you look at it, there is a product between the dependent variable y and the differential coefficient. So we can directly exclude this option. So this is not linear. Now, lastly, the fourth and final equation. Similarly, the highest order derivative here is this, g squared y over dx squared, and the exponent of this derivative is 1. And since there is no product between the dependent variable y and the differential coefficient, this equation is linear. So from here, we know that the differential equation 1, 2, and 4 are linear. Hence, the right answer is option D. Equation 1, 2, and 4. Hello everyone, now let's look at question number 7 of the BHSEC 2024 MCQ Maths. In this question, we are given with a figure of a possible chord and we are asked to find the distance between point P and point Q. Now from this figure, we can directly infer that this is a horizontal hyperbola and we are asked to find the length of its transverse axis. The formula for the length of transverse axis is length of transverse axis is 2a. Now we are also given with an equation, which is the equation for this hyperbola. So first and foremost, let's write down the general formula for the horizontal hyperbola, which is x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals to 1. Now let's make this formula similar to this general formula. So to make it in this form, let's divide both sides by 144. So 9x squared over 144 minus 16y squared over 144 equals to 144 by 144. Now let's basically cancel it out. So these two gets cancelled. 9, 16. 16, 9, and we get the equation x squared over, and since we're trying to make this similar to this formula, we write it down as a form of squares, so 4 squared and y squared over 3 squared equals to 1. Now from this final equation, we can find out the a and b. A is 4 and b is 3. Now from this point, now it's just a simple case of substituting a. So we just substitute a in this formula. So 2 times 4, we get 8 units. Since it is distance, which is your option B.